All right, Tim. So we're actually now going to move on to the talk about the U of A hockey team. Lots of lots of new guys on this team as well. Lots of guys also left. Last week, we found out that the Wildcats have named Orion Olson as their captain. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they picked the absolute best guy. Orion Olson, first of all, is a fine hockey player, and he's a really good kid. And as we look for leadership for this team, and as you said, there's a lot of new faces, the team is going to be about half new guys, or first-year Wildcats at least. And we need some good veteran leadership. And Orion Olson is the kind of guy who leads by example. He's a very hard worker. And just how he handles himself, he's a very mature athlete and student. And he represents the program really well. So I think that's a great pick. You know, Coach Berman really wanted to establish early a new culture for this team, a really team-oriented culture. And so that's why even before tryouts started, he named Orion Olson the captain. It's an unusual move to do that so early before even the entire roster has been determined. But I think it's a smart one because he's already showing his leadership.
And going back to last year, Arizona didn't really have necessarily their best season, although they had a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but the way they ended the season, one of the most emotional probably ends to a season for an Arizona team. When on sweeping ASU, they didn't make the national tournament, but what are your thoughts on probably what are they going to use from then going into the season now?
Well, Rob, that's a really good observation. Last year, there was a lot of talent on that team, and sometimes they looked like a top-5 team. They beat eventual ACHA national champion Central Oklahoma, and then they turn around and drop a game that there's no way they should have dropped. So they were completely up and down. As you say, the last weekend of the season, they knew they had to sweep that series to make the national tournament. They won the Friday game in overtime. I was on the bench for that game, and I can't tell you the kind of emotion that came from that. And then Saturday, they beat ASU in a shootout after an overtime period. And I've been following U of A hockey for more than 30 years, and those two moments are in the top 10, maybe top 5 of the entire experience of University of Arizona hockey for me. As you said, they were so emotional. And, there was a time back before I think you and Rachel were born when ASU hadn't beaten U of A, and I think we had the record up to like 58 games in a row. Well, in the last 10 years, U of A hasn't beaten ASU more than once or twice, and they really turned the tables last year. So that really is a battle cry for this year. That really is his point of emphasis for this team. ASU is everything. You want to go to the national tournament, you got to beat ASU, and they play ASU the second home game of this year on Saturday, September 30th, I think it is.
Yes, it is, and I'm sure after what ASU witnessed and went through last year, I'm sure they're going to come back and be pretty aggressive about it. And going off of that, I personally noticed last season that the Wildcats had more of an aggressive style of play. I would almost compare them more to the Kings of the NHL and sort of in their prime where they were really skilled offensively, but they could also rough you up and really get under your skin. Did you notice that about the team, or is there like another style, and do you think that's like a strength or a weakness of theirs?
That's a really good observation, Rachel. I was surprised when I came back to U of A hockey last year as the media director, just how large that hockey team was. In my era before when I was with the team, players at the ACHA level were probably 5'7", 5'8", 165 pounds. And I met the guys last year and was looking at the roster, and more than half of the roster was over 6 feet tall and over 210 pounds. That's a really large college hockey team. And as you said, they played a really aggressive style. They had gritty guys who would punish the other team. But then again, sometimes would lack team cohesiveness on defense, which is something that at this level of hockey is usually the deficiency. You either don't have quality goaltending or you don't have enough effort on the defensive end. That's not just defensemen. Your forwards have to play defense too. And I know that that's going to be a point of emphasis for Coach Berman in this team to get more of a team identity on defense. They're loaded in goal. They've got 3 really good goaltenders. So a lot of teams at this level don't have one quality goaltender. Arizona has 3. So now it's all about, do the guys play well in front of the goaltenders and keep the puck out of the net? And I think that's one of the reasons why last year the U of A was up so high and then down so low. They weren't consistent on the defensive end.
Personally, I find it almost odd that I understand, of course, they had the defensive lapses and everything and their goaltending, which made them have those really low lows, but given the leadership group that they had last season, and they had both Toppy and John Hogan, and those are really, those are guys are sort of almost the face of the team, you would say. And how do you think the team is going to adjust after losing those kind of guys, and they sort of have to find their identity again because they sort of identified with those guys. How do you think that's working out, and where do you see them going?
Well, you're absolutely right. And for people who don't know, Toppy Hogan was the top scorer on the team. He was All-American and MVP of the team last year. A physical beast, a monster. And he's still at the University of Arizona, but now he's on the varsity golf team. So he quit hockey. He took a lot of abuse last year physically on the ice. He was the target. He was the number 1 target for other teams, of course, because he was Arizona's most visible player. And he's retired from hockey to pursue a goal of playing pro golf, and he's actually on the varsity golf team. That's going to be a huge loss. I don't know. In my 30 years of watching Arizona hockey, he's definitely one of the 5 best players ever to play for the U of A. You don't just replace a guy like that. The news is better about John Hogan. Yes, his eligibility is up, but he's an assistant coach on this team, so we still have a Hogan in the locker room. And I was watching him run practice in tryouts yesterday, and he's going to be really effective as an assistant coach as he learns how to coach these guys. So that's good news, but as you say, they're going to have to re-identify themselves. This happens more in college than it does on the pro level. Every year you really, really have a different team with a completely different character. And Arizona had a lot of talent last year, but the team play was lacking. It'll be interesting to see this year, maybe, about the talent level that they have, but if they play a more consistent team game.
Now, I'm glad that earlier you talked about Arizona having 3 really solid goaltenders. Which of those goaltenders do you personally think has the best shot, or just the one that you really like so far?
Well, we are so early. That was just the first day of tryouts yesterday. They haven't even, they have 3 days of tryouts, today and tomorrow, and then the final roster is selected, and then they start immediately with practice. And so this week was kind of weird because if the guys were guys who stayed in Tucson and are returning players, they probably haven't skated in a couple months. And you could tell that at least half of the guys on the ice last night had not skated in a while. You could tell the goaltenders hadn't taken shots in a little while. And it's going to take a week and a half, I'm going to guess, before guys really look like they look like. But we have Austin Wilson returning senior goaltender, and then 2 newcomers who are going to push him but are ready to play right now. They've played Canadian juniors at a high level, and they're very talented. There are NCAA Division I teams that would be very happy with this goaltending core. And so I'm fascinated to see, as everybody gets their legs under them, is Austin Wilson still the number 1 goaltender? Well, he's going to get pushed by these new guys. And of course, if you've been following the team and seen Austin Wilson play, you're rooting for him as a senior to keep that job and prove that he's the number 1 goaltender. And he really wants to prove that.
Okay, so now that we're moving, sort of, we addressed the goaltending. How about somebody on defense or forward, somebody who's returning? Do you have sort of somebody who maybe was under the radar last year and you think, wow, they're just really going to, like, just sort of last year you were looking at them and think, wow, if they have another year of development, they're really going to break out. Do you have sort of that underdog kind of that we can root for?
That's fascinating because the kids really do develop so quickly in college from one year to another. So you can see the potential of a guy, and it's really interesting to see what they're going to be like last year. I'm really excited about Manny Rowe, number 20. Rachel, you probably know him because of his incredible flow that he has. He has old-style hockey hair, and it looks great on him. Manny Rowe is a very athletic defenseman, really knows how to push the puck, has that defensive focus that the coach wants, and now he's a year older. I believe he was the newcomer of the year, rookie of the year for Arizona last year, and deservedly so. He's going to be an all-star at the ACHA level, and I think that's going to start this year. I think he's a really, really key returning player for this Wildcat squad.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely do know Manny Rowe and his flow. That rhymes. There was actually the team signing last year. I actually went there, and the first thing I said to him, I was like, I'm like, how long did it take for you to grow that out? That is incredible. Like, that is just true hockey flow. So,
the press release, and we're going to have a day of mourning because it's just when he's skating around in warm-ups without his helmet on, and it's just falling behind him like he's King Arthur or something, and then he puts his helmet on and it's sticking out all over the place. Yeah, no, there's going to be a team vote or a team revolt if he goes and cuts his hair.
I think me and Robbie can both agree, and I think hockey fans probably who just understand the culture of hockey can absolutely agree with that. And
hockey too. Guys are allowed to have personality. They're allowed to be individuals, and this is supposed to be fun, So like the ASU weekend to end the season last year, these guys erupted with an emotion like a champagne bottle getting uncorked. They had it so pent up about ASU, about beating ASU, and then they do it at home in front of big crowds. That's why I continue to love Arizona hockey. So, Rachel, you're a Roadrunners season ticket holder. Are you a U of A Wildcat ticket holder?
I'm actually not, because I will actually be covering them this year, so I am not going to be able to attend many games as a fan.
Excuse? You didn't make. I was going to have to go to Manny and talk about that, but no, that's a good excuse. You're actually going to be covering them as media. That's good. Good for you.
Yes. So, sort of to connect the two ideas of the Tucson Roadrunners and the U of A hockey team, how do you think both of them have impacted the culture of Tucson? Personally, I think the Roadrunners coming here will almost make it a better environment for the U of A team, because maybe people aren't used to watching college hockey, so they're like, oh, let me go watch an AHL team that's a professional team, and now maybe they'll move into it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the U of A hockey team, from a marketing standpoint, has really been deficient for a number of years. They haven't had competition in the marketplace, and I really don't think they put the investment needed in the program. And it's one of the, so when I go in and talk to people, a lot of people don't know that U of A has a hockey team, and we have to fix that. And I think the administration really does want to address that. They're going to invest in this program, because the Roadrunners only help the U of A if the U of A can get out of the Tucson Convention Center. And what I mean by that is we need a smaller 2,500 seat kind of rink that could be a practice facility for the Roadrunners in the home of U of A hockey, so they're not competing for the same dates at the TCC. Last year and this year, and until the U of A can get out of the TCC, they have to play some 2 p.m. games because they just can't get enough weekend dates because the Roadrunners are there. And there's that makes it so difficult to break even financially when you play a third or a half of your season at 2 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. So the Roadrunners only help if they can get out of the TCC. It's a 7,000 seat arena. It's expensive to rent and operate for U of A games. It's great when ASU is there, when the U of A plays an opponent that a big crowd comes for. But sometimes when the crowds are smaller, it becomes very financially difficult. Once they're in two separate buildings, though, then I think the organizations can really augment each other and really help each other, and they won't be competing for the exact same dollars on the same days.
So,
You need, folks, kids, my fellow alumni, you need to come to U of A hockey games. We need you there so that the program can survive and grow.
absolutely. I have to say, though, at least maybe we can agree that we're in a better position than ASU is right now, because currently both, I believe their D1 and their ACHA team both play in Oceanside Arena, which is a very, very small little place.
I'll describe it a little differently. It's a dump. It's like 100 years old. I believe it was the first ice rink ever built in Phoenix more than 50 years ago. It's a dump. You know, they put a couple $100,000 into it to make it look better for the Division I team. But you're absolutely right. The NCAA team and the ACHA Division I and Division II teams, they all three play at Oceanside. It's got bleachers, aluminum bleachers that hold about 500 people. And, you know, in talking to the Division I coach up there, Greg Powers, Greg is such a long-time ASU hockey man. He's the goaltender who broke the streak of the U of A beating ASU at 57 or 58 games 20 years ago. So he's the one who stopped that streak, and now he's the head coach there. And, you know, he's talked to me about how if they had the Tucson Convention Center as their home, they'd be the number one attendance team in the NCAAs, and I don't deny that. They've got the Division I NCAA program, and they don't have a building. So they got to get that done, you know. They got to get a 5,000-seat multi-use arena built there at ASU that women's basketball can play in, and volleyball can play in, and ice hockey can play in. But as you know, I mean, that takes, you know, I don't know, $250 million, I don't know, some incredible amount of money, and it's not on the drawing board right now. So until then, the finest college hockey venue is right here at the University of Arizona at the Tucson Convention Center. But even then, the U of A is in the same position as ASU. We need a building that we can call our own, that's a more modern building than Oceanside.
Now that ASU went D1 about 1 or 2 years ago, I believe it was the season before last, I think that brought up a lot of competition possibly between U of A and ASU, possibly for recruiting, because at one point they were on the same level, sort of going after the same players, and maybe now it's a little offset and ASU has more teams. How do you think that sort of changed the dynamic? Do you think U of A is going to be pushing even more to maybe, not at this point maybe go D1, but just try to get that new building, and what else are they going to try to do to make people want to come to U of A, make recruits come here?
Well, first of all, Coach Berman is confident that this is the best. This is Coach Berman's fourth year here. He says by far this is his best recruiting year, and they are able to get some really top-level recruits to come to the U of A. They've got, I believe, 3 guys who have transferred from NCAA teams to the University of Arizona to play here. So they are able to attract people here. The situation at ASU is kind of strange because, as you say, they have a Division I team there, and then they have 2 club teams. And I think at first thought, you'd think, well, there's no way the club teams can be good if you can play. You're playing for the Division I team. But there's so much ice available in the Phoenix area. They have so many rinks, and they have several decades now of youth programs that they've developed a lot of hockey talent in the Phoenix area. And those are the kids, local Arizona kids, who are playing on the ACHA teams now, and they have really good talent. This will be a very telling year, though, because all of the players that were part of that transition from the club team to the Division I team are all gone now. So this is an all ACHA team. Will the talent level still be up to the level that they have been? This will be interesting to see what happens with that. But, yeah, that's a lot of ASU hockey teams playing out of one little 500-seat barn there at Oceanside.
Yeah. All right, Tim, I think we're just about to wrap this up. We really want to thank you again for calling into this show. We really appreciate it. Always good having another guy in here talking with hockey with us.
Well, Rob, if Rachel, have me on any time. We'll talk Roadrunners. We'll talk Wildcats. We'll talk the greatest game on earth on ice hockey.
All right. Thanks again, Tim.